goes hard on the Monday scorecard. This goes hard on the Monday scorecard. Turn your bars to a bird.
Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome in. It's the Monday Scorecard presented by Encore Golf. I'm your host, of course, Travis Fulton. Thank you for making us part of your day, and hope you're off to a great start here in the new year. I know for me, I'm happy to be back to work. Got some rest, got some things done around the house, good family time, but it's time to get back to work. And Justin Thomas, well, no one's off to a better start than him as he wins the Sentry Tournament of Champions once again, two-time winner of that tournament, and now 12 total wins in his career, the most for any player currently under the age of 30 as he passes his good buddy Jordan Spieth, who seems to be stuck at 11 wins. But an impressive win for Justin Thomas. But let's face it, this is a limited field, right? So if there's a tournament that's probably going to be the easiest to win on the PGA Tour, it's going to be the Sentry Tournament of Champions. But good grief, tough conditions. That golf course was playing forever. A lot of rain, a lot of wind. Justin Thomas managed it all and was able to defeat Patrick Reed and Xander Schauffele, of course, in a playoff. Now, if you follow me on my platforms, in particular here in the Monday Scorecard, I've talked about Justin Thomas a lot. I'll even take you back about a year or two ago. I used to do the radio show with Hank Haney that he had on Sirius XM Radio, and every Tuesday I would come on and we would break down the event and talk about players and this and that. And he would always kind of challenge me a little bit on the Justin Thomas situation, because I was always a bit bullish on Justin Thomas. And I can recall there was a question about if you had to pick between Justin Thomas and Jordan Spieth for the rest of their career, who would you pick? Now, this was probably, I'm going to say 18 to 20 months ago when this question was asked to me by Hank, and I said, no question, Justin Thomas, right? And of course, Jordan Spieth at that time had more wins, 3 major championships, and everything looked like, okay, this guy's going to continue to go on. But there's always been something about Justin Thomas, I think maybe a little bit of a late bloomer, but all of the tools are there, and you could see him maturing. You could see the game coming along, and it was just a matter of time, I always felt, before he started winning and winning often. Long off the tee, great iron player, has developed the off-speed stuff now with the wedges, as you saw, into the greens, controlling the spin, and I think becoming a more consistent putter. Struggled a little bit with the flat stick last year, but I do think he's taken some strides with the flat stick. Of course, putted very well this week at Kapalua. I like where his game's going. I do think he's one of the best players in the world. I think he has been now for the last year and a half. And it's time to start putting Justin Thomas now in that upper echelon of players. Would not be surprised to see him get to the #1 spot in the world. Happy for Justin Thomas. Happy that golf is back on TV. Laying in bed, watching golf in prime time. Off we go to the Sony Open. Moving on here at the Scorecard, we're going to do something a little bit different here. Going to have some fun. It's a new year. You've got your New Year's resolutions. And I want to talk about what should be the New Year resolutions for a handful of the top players on the PGA Tour. So let's have some fun. Our first guy, well, it has to be Justin Thomas. 2020 New Year's resolution for Justin Thomas is put these tournaments away. Leave no doubt. I mean, Justin Thomas at the Sentry, I mean, he played brilliant golf for 15 holes. Tough conditions, was blitzing the golf course in the field. Gets to the last 3, starts leaking air on 16, has to make, I think, an 8 or 9 footer for par in 17, and then he bogeys the 18th, a debacle on the par 5 18th. Now, I'm being a little hypercritical. I get it. Justin Thomas, the trajectory is all moving in the right direction here. 12 wins, as I mentioned, the most for any player on tour under the age of 30. But it's all there now. The next step, 2020, get in here, right? Dig in here a little bit, Justin. Get that killer instinct, get to the back nine, and put these boys away. 2020 New Year's resolutions for the #1 ranked player in the world, Brooks Koepka. I'm going to say answer Tiger's text. Yeah, that's right. Tiger texts you in 2020, I'd answer it. I'm not sure if you saw, but Tiger, when he feels slighted and he gets hyper-focused on someone, he's going to defeat you. Just ask Abraham Answer and, well, everybody else for that matter on the PGA Tour. You don't need to change, Brooks. You've got the game. #1 ranked player in the world. Confidence, sometimes a little arrogant. You're looking ahead. You're not looking back behind you. Slight Rory. Slight JT, right? Don't slight Tiger. He's coming, and he's coming for that #1 spot. And en route to the #1 spot, we're going to probably see 83, 84, 85, 15th major championship. Big Cat's back. I like what I saw at the President's Cup. Answer his text. Speaking of Tiger Woods, 2020 New Year's resolutions for the Big Cat should be get comfortable off the tee with the right to left baby draw. Now, you know I like the baby draw here at Travis Fulton Golf, but for Tiger, when he hits the draw off the tee, it tells me he's in full control of his golf swing. His predominant shot is the little fade, right? That's what he likes to hit off of the tee. In fact, there for a period of time when he was with Sean Floyd, that's the only shot he had. He hit everything left to right. He couldn't hit the draw at all. Now, his body was broken down. Before that, when he was healthy and Hank and Butch, he had, as he called it, all 9 shots. For me, Tiger is really, really close. And at the President's Cup, I loved what I saw with the driver. The first hole, he stood up, which is always a tough tee shot for him, hit his driver with a little right to left draw right down the middle. I stood up and I was like, Tiger Woods is back. If you see the draw off the tee for Tiger, I'm telling you what, he's going to win, and he's going to win often. 2020 New Year's resolution for Jordan Spieth should be fix the driver already. Good grief, we're going on 2 years now. And Jordan, all signs, is a mess still with the driver. And I don't know what's going on. We talked about this a few weeks back here on the Monday Scorecard. I don't know what's going on in his camp. I'm sure the fixes are the right fixes in place. It sounds like, turn your right hip, left arm a little bit deeper, club shaft maybe a little bit more across the line. But it's not happening. I don't know what's happening here. The last time that we saw Jordan, we saw this little snap hook off the tee. You can't compete on the PGA Tour with the distance that he's giving up and just hitting the driver all over the place, albeit this little snap hook off to the left. So it's frustrating to me. The PGA Tour is better with Jordan Spieth. Tiger, Phil, Rory, Spieth. Those are probably the needle movers in order. We need them out there. Fix the driver, please, in 2020. DJ, 2020 New Year's resolution. I got a couple things for you. The first is I need you to pick a putter, okay? One putter for 2020. I don't want you switching putters every other round, every other tournament. Let's pick a putter, one you like, looks good to you, and let's start making some putts. Let's get committed and fall in love with that one putter. And for that matter, go back to practicing your wedges like you used to, right? Let's get that distance control dialed in once again with the wedges. But beyond all that, what I really want to say to you, DJ, 2020 New Year's resolution, I want you to light the fire again. Light the fire in the belly, get focused, get that edge back. I don't want the DJ that's falling downstairs. I don't want the DJ that's taking a practice swing in a practice round and busting the driver into a sign, almost breaking your wrist. I want the focused DJ. I want the fired up DJ. I want the fist pump DJ, ready to go, chip on the shoulder, overpowering golf courses once again, and getting back up there with your boy, Koepka. 2020 New Year's resolutions for Ricky Fowler. Ricky, I got one thing for you. Your club shaft looks, to me, as laid off as I've ever seen it. And I heard that you're working on getting it a little bit more over there. I think that's a good idea. I like that direction in 2020 because it looks way over there. A little bit more over there. I like that for Ricky Fowler. 2020 New Year's resolutions for Patrick Reed. Patrick, I think you need to add someone to your team. Someone else, right? You've got your team right now, your wife, your caddy, your coach, but you need to add someone else to the team that can give you a little perspective perhaps on what's happening around you, because I think it'd be a good thing. I don't want you to change. I want you to be Patrick Reed, the fiery competitor, the edge that you play with. You're not out there to make friends. You can sit by yourself, table for one. You can be Patrick Reed, but I think someone else on the team give you some perspective, help you with some self-awareness. I think that'd be a good thing for you, both on the golf course and off. Rory McIlroy, 2020 New Year's resolution. I love you, man. I love you. I love what you're doing. I love who you are. Go get Brooks. Go get him. 2020 New Year's resolutions for Matt Kuchar, 24th ranked player in the world. You know what? Why don't we just bring in his coach, Chris O'Connell, and ask him. He probably knows what Matt's goals are and resolutions going into the 2020 season. Chris, hey, thanks for joining us here on the Monday Scorecard. I know you're a very busy man with Matt and all the players that you work with. And, you know, there's a lot of questions that I have about Matt Kuchar. He's really someone that kind of fascinates me, and I enjoy watching play the game. 6'4", couple 100 pounds, but doesn't really hit it that far. I mean, he hits it like 289 yards off the tee. That was 135th on tour last year. So he gives up a fair amount of distance off the tee, but is very competitive, wins his share of tournaments, seems to always be right there. So my first question to you, Chris, how do you guys talk about that? How do you manage giving up the length in the distance era, but yet be so competitive year in and year out?
He does, because Matt would be average length at best, probably a little short of average on tour. Now, I find that funny when people say he's short. He flies the ball 270, 275 yards. If you were to go play alongside Matt, most people wouldn't find him short. But relative to a Rory McIlroy, a Dustin Johnson, a Brooks Koepka, yes, he's given up 40 yards to them. Now, we talk a lot about certain courses that favor Matt. If the course is firm, Matt is longer. Matt tends to land the ball at a flat angle, and he gets a lot of run out. If there's a course that is, say, more tree line course, more dog legs, like a Hilton Head, a course like that, or a Sony Open this week, those courses tend to favor Matt, because a lot of guys are hitting irons or 3-wood. Matt will go ahead and hit driver. And if Matt can get a tournament where second shot, he's hitting roughly the same club as other players, he's tough to beat. The one case, Bethpage Black last May for the PGA Championship was enormously long and soft. And we're out there playing, and Matt's hitting 3-wood and hybrid to most every par 4. And I can tell he's a little bit discouraged because he thinks, I can't compete. And I said, Matt, if Rory and Brooks and those guys are hitting 6 irons, you can compete, because they're not going to make birdies with 6 irons. You're going to make pars with your hybrids. They're going to make pars with their 6 and 7 iron. When the course is really difficult for Matt or a shorter hitter is when Matt's hitting 6 and 7 irons, and then these other guys are able to hit wedges in 9 iron. Now they're making birdies, and Matt is probably making pars.
One of my followers on my Instagram page wanted me to ask you this question, and that is, why does Kuchar elevate the club head off the ground? We see it with the driver, right? We've seen it with, Greg Norman did it with the driver, and some other players do it. But Kuchar lifts the club head up with every club, even his irons. I mean, what's going on there?
Why does Matt Kuchar hover the club before he takes it back? I have no idea. No, I'm just kidding. That's nothing that we've worked on. Matt Kuchar grew up watching Greg Norman, who did it. Greg Norman grew up watching Jack Nicklaus, who did it. And Matt Kuchar just figured, I think Greg Norman's cool, so I'm just going to do what Greg Norman does. Jack Nicklaus did it. I think it was very beneficial for Jack Nicklaus. Jack Nicklaus tended to have a very upright golf swing which will make the bottom of your swing more like a V, where the club's coming down and up, and there's not a very long landing area down there. And so for Jack, when he hovered it, it forced him to move the shaft by moving his arms and move the handle, versus if I were to set it on the ground, some people who set it on the ground will move the shaft with their hands and wrist, and you can see the handle doesn't move at all. That tends to make the bottom of the swing narrower. So for Jack, it gave him a wider, sweepier takeaway, a little bit smoother takeaway, more of a one-piece takeaway, versus the club head moving independently from the handle and cocking up. So Matt just kind of grew up imitating Greg Norman. Greg Norman imitated Jack Nicklaus, but I think the benefit for Jack was when he moved the shaft with the arms as opposed to the hands, it gave that upright swing, which can get a narrow bottom, it gave it some width, so it allowed his golf club to be more along the ground.
Hey, Chris, thanks so much for your time here on the Monday Scorecard. We appreciate you joining us. The best of luck to you and Matt Kuchar in the 2020 campaign on the PGA Tour. You know, Kuch he's such an interesting player to me. As I mentioned, 6'4", and he only hits it 289 yards off the tee. It always just seems like, he could just wind it up more and bust it out there another 20 yards. But he really is a plotter. He plays the game, kind of like an old student of mine, Fred Funk, right? Who wasn't the longest, but straight, understood his game and executed the game plan perfectly, and had a great career on the PGA Tour and the Champions Tour. But it's a new era. It's a distant era. These guys are bombing it out there. They're only going to get longer. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Matt Kuchar back in the winner's circle again in 2020 to get that 10th win on the PGA Tour. Major championship, I don't know. His best finishes, Masters, T3, PGA, T7, US Open, T6, and then a second at the Open Championship. It just feels like at the age of 41, giving up that distance, some things would have to fall into place for him to get that major that's been eluding him since turning professional. Great show today. Can't thank you enough for tuning in here to the Monday Scorecard. We'll be back next week, but also be sure to tune in to my Instagram at Travis Fulton Golf, and I'll be sharing my picks for this week's tournament as the PGA Tour rolls into the Sony Open before back to the mainland and the West Coast swing. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.